Yeah, you might have heard Junior Junior's Gone on the Sausage Party soundtrack, but give them more credit than that. They have headlined alongside Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, have performed on The James Corden Show, and have just released their latest album, Invocations Conversations. Their latest album takes them in more melancholic directions, speaking about the social turmoil we face daily in society. This week on Talk BreakZ, we speak to Junior Junior's Joshua Epstein about the band's latest effort, streaming and music, and feature culture. Well, thanks for having the interview, man.
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, so I just wanted to congratulate you on the new album, and you can also shout this out to Dan or Daniel, however he likes to go by. But congratulations on the new album, and I just want to say that I really digged it, and it's definitely a different feel from what you guys did on your previous projects.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So I just wanted to ask you a couple questions about the release of the project.
Sure.
So did it feel like any pressure to release this album with the success of your self-titled album back in 2015? You guys were previously on Warner Records, and it's always a different story when making your own record label and releasing your first project on that platform. So did you guys stress yourself out over making this a standout among your other projects?
No, actually. I think that this one, we were kind of looking to push a little bit and explore. I think that, especially when you get to your fourth album, it feels like you need to really be on top of your game and kind of creatively, just be pushing and expanding. And so I don't think we felt any pressure. It was just more of we wanted to make sure that we were growing as artists.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that because when I'm going back and looking at your self-titled from 2015, you guys were doing a lot of you guys were going with a lot of synth directions, but you also incorporated folk sounds with the whole guitar aesthetic. And with this one, it feels a bit more low key, a bit more slow, on the slower side.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it never really feels like a drastic departure, but definitely, I can see how as a listener it would feel different. But I think also I think that writing things with the computer and on the grid and stuff can eventually start to feel a little bit confining and constricting because you're kind of locked into this computer feel. So I think we consciously tried to write a couple songs and ideas without the computer and just kind of explore the original ways that we got into songwriting a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And going on to your origins, you guys collectively came about in the Detroit, Michigan scene. So, of course, you have superpower acts such as, the White Stripes, Sufjan Stevens, Gil Scott-Heron, and even the mighty Jay Dilla. So how has the Detroit scene impacted you guys on this album from your previous projects?
Well, on Invocations, we were recording in the Masonic Temple in Detroit, which is the biggest Masonic temple in the United States. And it was kind of I think it influenced us a lot because we were just in the middle of the heart of Detroit, kind of a part of town where you can if you're up on a high floor, you can kind of see the development and all of the new buildings that are happening in Detroit. But it's also kind of in this pocket of Detroit where it's still kind of not necessarily fixed up yet. And I think the balance between the new idea of a city and gentrification and having the same type of coffee place in every city and the same type of restaurants in every city alongside the streets where the houses are still burned out was really a powerful image to just be living in every day.
Yeah, and definitely that you mentioned the temple on this on Invocations. It feels Like, did you guys like take it to a more organic approach into everything? Do you guys just feel like a bit more like that you had to take the music into a bit more of a spiritual aesthetic, or just was that the vibe that you guys were catching?
We actually wrote that as a band, like with the people that have played with us in our live band for a long time. So I think it was just kind of meant to feel more like we wanted to take advantage of the incredible musicians that we play with and incorporate them kind of from like the recording on, and from the ground floor up.
Yeah. And I've noticed that you guys always switch up your synth sounds, and you always give it a fresh take no matter what. So, and it always reminds me of something such as like, Hot Chip or even LCD Sound System. And when listening to your first project, when you guys were going under the name of Dale Earnhardt Jr., how do you guys feel about it compared to this new album? Like, do you guys feel like it's just like, this is like the vibe that you're getting, or are you guys always finding new people to get inspired by, or are you guys just like fans of like, raw music?
Yeah, I think, like we tend to just never want to repeat ourselves. And so I think, we're always trying to make something that sounds different from the last thing that we made. But, I get that that's like always been a little bit of it's a little bit harder to like have a thing that you do when you're switching it up all the time. But I think that's what keeps it interesting for us. So we're just constantly trying to like find new sounds and find new ways to explore ideas. So this was just kind of an extension of that. But I get it, like makes it hard to be like a band that you can really identify like exactly what we are.
Yeah, because you guys definitely bring something new to the genre, and it's so expansive, your catalog, that it even ranges back to when you guys were like dropping stuff on SoundCloud and like Bandcamp, and I was just like, whoa, like you guys always like give it a fresh new take. Like even tracks such as Run don't feel the same as like they do now on Invocations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're always trying to push, and I think it's like there's a lot of bands where like every album that they make kind of sounds the same, and like I love Beach House, but like their records all kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
And then so you either kind of have a lot of bands like that, or a lot of bands where like they're just constantly like referencing the newest sound and trying to like stay a part of the contemporary sound. And I think we're just trying to always do our own thing.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned Beach House, actually, like it's funny because like as much as I love Beach House, I feel like definitely in this decade, like the mid 2010s, I feel like they've been stuck in this cycle, and like no doubt, like I'm not trying to throw shade on them, but it feels like they were pushing a lot of boundaries on Teen Dream, and back when they were doing the oh my gosh, I'm remembering I'm trying to think of like the second album, like the fourth album, the one that has like the white spotlights in the background. But anyway, yeah, those were like really great records, and I feel like them and some other like indie bands nowadays like have like fallen into the cycle where like they don't know if they should like keep on continuing to push the boundaries, or like stick to what their fans want. And I feel like you guys are doing what you guys want, but it's always like resonating with your fan base.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think like something that I realized a long time ago was that no matter what kind of song I write, it always sounds like me. And I also think that there's like that's the kind of artist that I want to be. Like I think about the artists that I love, and that they're artists that have like grown and changed and referenced things that have been going on contemporarily, but like also always kind of sounded like them. And then I think you got people like Madonna, where like she at a certain point just started to like really chase the exact sound that was going on around her, and I think that's why it hasn't felt authentic for a decade or two.
Yeah, definitely. And like don't get me wrong, I'm like also like a huge Madonna fan. I remember when my mom she was playing her Living Like a Prayer record like back when she like bought it on the CD, like when CDs were like still like a big thing back then. But yeah, and I think Madonna and like such other great artists they fell into the cycle where like it just doesn't feel authentic anymore, and if anything it just feels a bit more like it sounds a bit too refined to like where the fans can't resonate with it.
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, part of that is just that, like, if you, like, I think that people thought that, like, streaming was going to make music more diverse, but in a way, I think it's actually, like, made it easier for the few major labels, like, which are, like, 3 of them now, to kind of control the algorithms and, like, what's popular. So if you look at, like, the top 50 songs on Spotify, it's always stuff that's, like, either, like, you know, like marshmallow or like really like DJ kind of tracks, or like really like hip hop.
Yeah, like Lil Nas X or something.
I see a lot of artists, like, I don't know, like when I see like Ed Sheeran rapping, I'm like, how are people okay with this? Like, I don't want to see that guy rapping, you know. Yeah. But I just like, we don't ever want to play that game. We just want to be us, you know. Hopefully, like, at the end of our careers, we'll be able to look back and think, like, all right, cool, we did that all with integrity, and, like, we did what we wanted, as opposed to, like, being embarrassed of something we tried to make.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like nowadays artists, and not just indie artists, but, like, definitely, like, mainstream artists, and it's not, like, me giving hate to mainstream artists, but I feel like we fell into this cycle of a feature culture, you know, where everything has to have a feature now.
Yeah, I think it's also, like, you know, music used to be the language of, like, political protest and like communicating really big ideas, and I think that a lot of artists have abdicated their responsibility to try and make something that pushes culture further, because they're trying to do something that, like, makes them money in the short term, and that's something I have a hard time, like, respecting, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And with the early influence that you've had, I've mentioned, you know, that you guys remind me a lot of Hot Chip and LCD Sound System and all those that I get when I listen to your music. But I know that you've also stated in interviews before that you were deeply inspired by, like, early, like, hip hop beats, such as, you know, the Mighty J Dilla and stuff. So how does just, like, the whole hip hop influences, like, play into, like, your music, and how do you incorporate it?
Well, I think you know, the thing about hip hop is, like, it's the rhythm, you know, and it's not the obvious rhythm. Like, I think the easiest kind of, like, track to make is the marshmallow kind of, like, DJ 4 on the floor, like, track. And, you know, that not to say that we haven't made those, but you know, I think the thing about hip hop that's so cool is, like, you can incorporate such a wide variety of feels under what you're playing. And so I think that, like, that kind of, like, freedom and like backbeat has always really been inspiring.
Yeah. And also, just to ask you about some other shows that you guys had, how was it like performing with some of the Motown heroes, like, you know, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas?
Oh, I mean, Motown's definitely a huge influence for us, man. I think, you know, it's like the best example I can think of like popular music that was just really legitimately great. And Motown's always been a thing for us where, like, you know, I think it's an example of like pop music that was also, like, very, very intellectual and very, like, I don't know, just, it's like, it's great art, but it's also, like, an example of what was the most popular thing in the era. And I think that's, like, a really inspiring thing.
Yeah, and it's, like, great because you guys are, like, performing alongside these, like, legends, and you guys, in a sense, are also, like, legends, like, in, like, the entire, like, Michigan. Like, how does it, like, I mean, you guys are, like, at the concert, like, people were saying, like, in the tweets, like, that, like, they were, like, super excited that, like, a collaboration, or not even a collaboration, but that, like, two worlds would, like, collide and, you know, just perform at the same venue. So, like, how does it feel like to, like, you know, be seen as, like, legends in, like, Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge compliment. You know, I think for me, my focus is always just on, like, trying to be able to make art for a living. So, like, I don't know, just to be able to be mentioned in the same breath as most people is a real huge compliment for me.
That's great, man. what can you say to the young aspiring musicians that are trying to make it out, in the indie rock scene or in the hip hop scene? Like, are there any words of advice that you can give out to those young individuals?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, definitely don't do it if you don't love it, because there's, no matter how successful you are, there's going to be times where you wonder if you made the right decision. I think that's probably with everything, but if you love it, then, it's like, really just be able to enjoy the process, because like if you enjoy the process, then you're always going to be happy with your decisions. But if you're not enjoying the process, then don't do it.
Got you. And also, where do you see the future of Junior Junior in 1 year or even 5 years? I know that's a scary question to ask, but I just wanted to get your take on like what you guys can like see for yourselves in the near future.
I mean, I hope that we're gonna just keep putting out music. We got like 2 new songs right now that are like already in the system and they're about to come out. And I'm in New York right now. Just for the next 2 weeks, like I'm gonna hole myself up in an apartment and just try and write as many songs as I possibly can. Because while we're not playing shows and stuff, I'm just trying to like always be as productive as possible.
Yeah.
So I hope that we just keep on staying productive and make a bunch of shit,
Yeah. And anything you can say to the folks of out in the world just listening to this interview when it's uploaded?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I cursed so many times.
No, you're fine, man. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for having this interview, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, man.
Try to imagine what it must be like to live in your